All right, guys, what is up? This is Ryan from Elevate Security once again. And recently I had some questions on my channel. I like to make videos when you guys ask me questions, so I definitely appreciate the feedback here. Definitely trying to help you guys out as much as possible, being someone in the field of security and going for the OSCP myself. And if you're new to the channel, back, what was it, a year and a half ago, I went for OSCP and I made vlog videos, like weekly videos on my progress, my experience, stuff like that. I took the exam. I didn't pass. I got 3 out of the 5 boxes. So I was really close, and pretty soon I'm going to be going back for it. So I'm going to be gearing up along with you guys, along with you viewers that are also going for this. So yeah, let's level up together for sure. But I recently got a video, without rambling too much, I recently got a video request or a request for a roadmap towards getting your OSCP if you're a complete beginner. So I'm going to be focusing on the complete beginners here. If you're not a beginner, maybe some of this stuff will still be of value. So I would advise to stick around and maybe we'll see how that goes for you. But I wanted to start by just going to the Offensive Security website. And if you don't know, Offensive Security is the company that administers and owns the OSCP, right? It's their certification. So you might see this PWK, Penetration Testing with Kali Linux. This is basically the same thing as OSCP. It's just the lab portion of it, whereas the OSCP is the actual exam certification itself. So they have a little video here. I'm not going to play it right now, but you can check it out here. Go to this link. I'll include this link in the description for you guys as well. And they have a number of certifications and courses. Some of them are quite outdated at this point, but what's cool is the OSCP recently got updated in 2020. I believe it was at the beginning of the year. So needless to say, I haven't taken this version of OSCP. I'd imagine they probably have new exam boxes as well. They had even before they had a rotation of exam boxes that they would go in and out with, so they would have different ones they would cycle through. So I definitely would get different boxes. It's just a matter of, I'm not sure if they have new ones for the exam, but for the lab, they 100% have new boxes and new content. The reason that I decided to come to this page when explaining this to you guys, how to get the OSCP, is because, what better place to start than this? They're actually really detailed in describing what all is included and what it encompasses for OSCP. They added some new stuff in this update, of course, no surprise there. But the exam itself is still the same. So even though they might have added some cool different parts to the lab, as far as the exams, from what I heard, no change there. So you don't have to worry about any of the new stuff for the exam. So basically, they got a bit about it. Who's it for? We can read this really quick. Pen testers seeking an industry-leading certification. Most definitely, I would have to agree. Security professionals, yeah. Other professionals. They talk a lot about professionals and people in the industry, but let me just tell you, you don't have to be someone that's a professional in security or in the industry already to get this. I know a lot of people that weren't yet in the industry and they got this. Now, that's not to say it wasn't difficult for them. It's even difficult for me. I didn't pass it the first time, right? But I think anyone can do it. It's just a matter of, are you gonna persist? So I'm persisting here. It took me a while to come back to it. I was really focused on other things, but yeah, this has definitely been on my list for a while. But here's the syllabus. This is really gonna help you because this is basically all you need to know and a little bit more too, I'll say. I'll tell you which ones are the extra things and which ones you need to know for the exam. So that's how I'll break it down here. And as far as these topics go, I haven't made a video on all of these topics. I definitely have made videos on some of them. So out of this list, you guys let me know if there's anything in particular that you'd like me to cover, and I can make videos on pretty much any of these topics because I've went through the old OSCP labs before, and I've done a lot of other CTF stuff like Hack the Box and stuff like that, as well as on the job every day doing a lot of this stuff. Not all of it, but a lot of it. So yeah, I should be able to make a video on any of these topics. You guys just let me know what you'd like to see. But yeah, let's get into it. So first off, getting comfortable with Kali Linux. I haven't made any Linux videos or Kali Linux videos. That might be something that I could cover in the future. But this would be really basic. It's just like, do you know your way around Linux? Do you understand what's available to you on Kali? And what does what, basically. Command line fun, you're just going in further to Linux, running stuff from the command line. Nothing too crazy there. Practical tools is just what are some of the command line utilities you have available to you to use. Then bash scripting is basically taking all this stuff and putting it in script form, right? If you can run Linux commands, you can write bash scripts, because all a bash script is a text file with a listing of commands, and then it runs through that. But I could create some videos on scripting, in particular with bash. Passive information gathering. This is all the information gathered. This isn't really like Nmap. This is like very non-intrusive gathering. Passive, as the name implies. So this might be doing some research on Google online, or could even be looking at DNS records, stuff like that. You're not touching the server, right? Now with the active information gathering, you're actually touching the server, meaning you're actually sending packets to the server. You're actually actively doing stuff, right? So that could be like Nmap, things like that. Vulnerability scanning, this is something that you're not going to have to do on the exam. So all these things here, you're basically going to need for the exam. This vulnerability scanning, you will not need for the exam. Vulnerability scanning, to be honest, is not even what I do in my field as a penetration tester. In one of my older roles as a pen tester, it wasn't as fleshed out, and we had to actually do some of this. Basically, what vulnerability scanning is there's an automated scanner. Whatever the company happens to be using, could be like something like Qualys, or it could be IBM AppScan, WebInspect, OpenVAS, whatever, Nessus. These are basically just programs that will scan the application for vulnerabilities, whether it's doing a dynamic scan on a web server that's actively running. Maybe it's a static scan looking at the source code, or maybe it's a server vulnerability scan where they're looking for the operating system configuration type vulnerabilities. Basically, all the stuff that you would think of for Prevesc, you would be looking for, those vulnerabilities there. So basically what this is programs that do that, you just point and click, tell it to scan, and it automatically scans it, comes back telling you what it found, and then you validate if that's a false positive or not. This section in the lab, very short. This is like a very loud thing. Obviously, if you're running a vulnerability scan on something, that's a really loud thing. So if you're a red team or stuff like that, you'll never ever do this. You'll never use this, really. If you are a pen tester, you probably won't be using this either. If you're taking the OSCP, you won't be using this. Basically, in my field of security, there's certain teams that are dedicated to this is all they do is run automated scans. Typically, if you want to enter in the space that I'm in, you won't be needing this. But yeah, web application attacks, you'll definitely need this. This is stuff like looking for vulnerabilities in the web applications. And a lot of times that's how you can get your initial foothold on the system. Maybe you find... Maybe you do some brute forcing of the subdirectories, you find a hidden directory, and they have a web shell, and you can get a real shell off of that. Maybe there's some credentials that you can find in there. Maybe there's a login page, default credentials work, or maybe it has SQL injection on it. Oh, man, web applications, so all-encompassing. There's so much to that, really. But yeah, I'll move right along here. I don't want this video to get too long. Introduction to buffer overflows, Windows and Linux buffer overflows. These are not hard. Contrary to what people say, these are, in my opinion, these are really easy. It's just a little weird at first if you've never done one. I plan on making content on buffer overflows on this channel, and a lot more than just buffer overflows, even some like malware analysis and reverse engineering and stuff like that. So that's the malware analysis and reverse engineering is something that I'm actively learning. You should always be learning in this field, but that's something that I'm working on right now, just full disclaimer. And pretty soon I do plan on pumping those videos out. But yeah, you definitely need to know this I will say on the exam, you're guaranteed to have one of the 5 boxes be a buffer overflow, just so you know. So you have to learn this. Client-side attacks. This is like you're basically attacking like the browser. So, for example, say someone's using a browser that's really out of date and susceptible to some vulnerabilities. You can actually exploit them on the client side. You won't have to do this on the exam, but you could exploit this in the lab environment. And definitely for the, obviously, all of this stuff is for the what's it called, the PDF packet that you go through and do the report. So you'll have to do this if you want the extra credit, but it's not on the exam. Locating public exploits, yeah, this is something you'll have to do all the time. I even did this on my channel when I found a manual exploit off of GitHub and I modified it, fixing exploits. Yeah, these are things that you absolutely need to do. File transfers, absolutely all the time. You get access to the server, then you want to upload maybe like your scripts to look for PrivX vulnerabilities like liminum.sh, maybe a kernel exploit, something like that. You'll need to be able to do your file transfers. Antivirus evasion, no, you won't need to do this on the exam. You don't even have to go, the course doesn't even go, unless they update it, it doesn't even go in depth at all on antivirus evasion in the thing. Basically all you do is, let's encode it with Shikata Ganai on MSF Venom like 200 times. Okay, wow, we evaded the antivirus. In the real world, it's not like that at all. You might have to write your own stuff just so you can have some encoding that doesn't have a known signature. This can get really deep, really in depth. If you want to be a red teamer, this is something you're going to need to get really good at, or have someone on your team who knows how to do this, because it's all about stealth there. So you don't want to get detected, and pretty much anything MSF Venom, like all these antivirus vendors, they write their stuff based off of looking at Metasploit and stuff like that first. So don't think that you're going to be able to just use Shikata Ganai. Like Shikata Ganai used to be a good encoder back in the day, but now everyone's onto that. So it's constantly that arms race that I was talking about in one of my previous videos. That's always like a cat and mouse thing. But for OSCP, you don't have to worry about it. And for what I do as a pen tester, they know that we're testing the apps, so I don't have to deal with stealth or anything. So if you want to do what I do, you don't have to worry about it. Red team, though, you do. Privilege escalation, absolutely, on the exam and everything. Once you get that initial shell, a lot of times, especially on the harder boxes, you're not going to have full access, so you're going to need to privilege escalate from there. Password attacks, yeah, for sure. This is pretty simple, though. It just comes down to like brute forcing, or there's different tools that they'll show you in OSCP that you can use to take keywords from a website and add them to your password list for when you brute force. But there's also brute forcing offline using something like John the Ripper and stuff like that. I'd like to do some password attack videos too. I think it would be pretty good to show you guys. You can actually take hashes and stuff and try to brute force against the hash using John the Ripper. That way you don't have to worry about doing it across the network and being potentially detected off of that. Port redirection and tunneling, this is not on the exam. There's no pivoting on the exam, and there's no multiple networks. There's just one network on the exam. But in the labs, yeah, this is a thing, and it's good to know. If you're a red teamer, you'll absolutely need to know this. For pen testers, not really so much. But if you're a red teamer, you'll probably have a tool that can do this for you, like Cobalt Strike or Metasploit Pro. You can do that. Active Directory attacks. This is new. This is one of the new things they added with the Active Directory stuff, I believe. They had a little bit of it. Well, they didn't have any Active Directory attacks, I don't think. They had some Active Directory stuff, but I'm pretty sure they added a lot to this. But you're not going to need to do any of this for the exam. It's just something they incorporated in the labs, and to get the extra credit, you'd need to do it, of course. But it's pretty cool, too, so I would definitely check this out. Metasploit framework, yeah, you're allowed to use it one time on the exam, and honestly, it's definitely beneficial to know how to use it. Of course, don't rely on it too much. PowerShell Empire, this is a new addition. This wasn't here before. Most of the stuff you couldn't run PowerShell on it because the Windows boxes were too old. So I'm assuming there's a lot of newer Windows servers now, like maybe some Windows Server 2012, 2016, something like that maybe, instead of all it's like 2008 and older, 2003 even. So yeah, there's PowerShell Empire. From what I heard though, I'm not really too up to date on my Windows stuff, but I heard that this is like not as popular as it was. It's kind of getting phased out in favor of some other tools, but I don't know. I could be wrong there. And then let's see, assembling the pieces, pen test breakdown. This is just like showing you what it's like as a pen tester, kind of more from a red team perspective, in my opinion. They just break down how it all fits together. But yeah, this is pretty much all this stuff. I would say before you get an OSCP, if you're a complete beginner, go through this list, try to learn how to do all these things. And in order to learn most of this stuff, minus maybe like the pivoting stuff, use HackTheBox, hackthebox.eu. I'll include that link in the description. Go to that website, start an account. You have to hack your way in to get an account, but honestly, you can just Google it and find out how to do it if you're completely new and you have no idea. But it's not too difficult. Once you make an account on there, then yeah, I would recommend getting the premium version because you can do whatever labs you want. But even if you don't, you can do it for free, and whatever boxes are on rotation, just do those. And look at the write-ups. Look at, I did some write-ups on this channel with the bash box. I plan to do more. IPSec does write-ups. There's also ones that you can find just online as like on different people's blog posts and stuff. But yeah, do that. Do a bunch of Hack the Box. Learn what these things are. Learn how to do them. And once you get a basic understanding, just go for OSCP. Get 2-3 months. They increased the prices recently after they reworked it. They updated it. Quite significantly increased the prices. You used to get a free retake, but now you don't. I don't think, at least. But yeah, so that's what we got going on here. I hope this was of help, even though this video was really long. So thanks for sticking around to the end if you did. But yeah, that's pretty much what I would say about OSCP for complete beginners. So let me know if there's any questions or comments down in the section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.